by no surprise, this is not a sneaker build. This is a warp build where Barbarian is super strong, super fast, but he's super squishy. He's so weak that if you're not properly geared enough, you're gonna fall. And I tried making this build as defensive as possible without losing any sort of momentum of being agile and swift. And boy oh boy, this build feels so fun. I honestly recommend anyone to try this build. If you're considering to play rogue, sorceress, or something in between, Barbarian is this class. This build has it all. Has weaknesses so that you could weaken your enemies. It has instantly high damage that if you kill one enemy, the skill gonna automatically reset, and hey, you can even have more attack speed, more damage, and more movement speed. Additionally, you will have leap, where you can just move to any sort of place, and your primary ability that you use to charge up your fury so that you can cast more skills, it's also a teleport ability, so you're always on the move, you're always on the lookout. And if you played Path of Exile before, there was a flicker build that just flickered through all of the enemies, warped through all of the area, and quickly killed all of the monsters. Well, this is very similar. So stay tuned, check this build out, and yeah, this is one of the coolest builds I have played. And straight up, I'm gonna answer: have this build killed Ashava? And well, unfortunately not. I'm gonna show the footage at the end of the video. Yeah, let's see what kind of powers I used to make this beautiful Barbarian come to life. Here you can see my Barbarian. I'm having, well, you may ask, hey, but how come you're sharing the build and you have still failed Ashava? Well, I want to prove to you that I came to Ashava prepared. I was level 20 way earlier before than today, so I'm gonna show you my gear. So I have all of my gear upgraded accordingly to my stats and accordingly to my ability to have resources like updates 2 out of 3, 3 out of 3. Weapons basically is prepared and everything is already set up so I could attempt Ashava. Yes, this is not attack power you could see from the previous betas, as in this beta we are not having as much of drops as there was before, but it doesn't change the fact that I'm super swift, as you saw before, right? So yes, I'm using mostly two-handed weapons, well, dual wielded. And speaking about abilities, the fact that you came here for, right? I started off my leveling journey, I experimented a bit, but all in all I left with this choice. I'm using Legend Strike with additional ability to heal myself when I'm leveling. So basically I just teleporting to enemies, and this is my very primary ability that I use to move around, avoid enemies attacks, and just, yeah, be agile. After I invested 2 points, I moved forward and I had decision to make: either should I go for upheaval. This was the skill that I used before, and this was a very good skill that helped me to clear a lot of monsters, and a lot of monsters that was coming at me within waves. But later on I discovered that there's a big fury cost, and since I'm a very agile build maker, so this is not gonna work for me, so I had to build some sort of leverage for me. So first I invested points into rend ability, so that when I'm not spending rend, when I'm not spending fury, I would be making damage, because rend, what it does, it creates bleed, and when I'm not attacking enemy, the bleed automatically attacks the enemy while I'm not attacking the enemy. So that's kind of 2 attacks at once while I'm recharging, or while I'm trying to avoid any sort of enemy's attacks. Later on I have invested into double swing, because rend ability, as good as it sounds, but it doesn't really create some sort of instant damage for enemies within a short period of time. So you need that burst damage, and that burst damage comes from double swing. At first I would recommend you investing only 1 point, and later on when you have a spare point, so you could level it up, so it would create another vulnerability for your enemies. But more or less 1 point is full enough here. You don't need to overextend. Mostly I would recommend having at least 3 points in the rend ability, so you would be strong enough. And moving forward, we have defensive abilities, defensive skills. Well, those defensive skills really break into several categories. I have tried them all. My favorite, of course, would be the Rolling Cry, but using this ability, as cool as it is, there's two downsides. So one is the huge cooldown that I cannot mitigate, I cannot lower down, and I believe there needs to be some sort of legendary. And if there is, this is gonna be awesome, but I have no legendary, so I had to go with a little bit more defensive ability rather than complete movement speed and attack speed increase with the resource, right? So I had to go with Iron Skin. So this is the only defensive ability we will have, and I recommend investing to full 3, at least 2 points. Later on I would recommend, well, I would honestly invest like 5 points if I had skill abilities for that. This is the only skill absorption damage ignoring ability, because you can avoid 9 out of 10 attacks if you're very agile, very swift, and you have like several cups of coffee, as I did today. But at some point you're gonna miss, you're gonna slip, and if there's an arrow or a spike coming at you, it's gonna be very, very hard for you to have have sustained damage, because again, you're doing a lot of quick movements, and those movements come at the cost is that you are not being defensive enough. So basically we covered the easiest part. Now the fun begins. While we have our defensive abilities, next up we're moving to leap, which is basically your movement ability from point A to point B. If you're going through quest, you're gonna leap. If you're going to monster wave, you're gonna leap. Later on, you will have ability to upgrade leap with reduction of cooldown. As I mentioned, from A to B you're leaping, and you have a reduced cooldown because you're not hitting any sort of enemy, so you're just moving through places a lot faster. So moving through places a lot faster gets you faster levels, you're gonna progress faster, so that's good. Afterwards you'll be able to upgrade it to have more fury given to you, so that you could spend it on this skill that I'm gonna tell you. Well, warp wouldn't work if you wouldn't have any sort of like major component, major ability that's gonna rock the world and gonna make Barbarian as barbaric as possible. Right? So this is the death blow ability. I tried investing a couple of points into it, but 1 point is absolutely enough. It's cool. This ability basically is wave killer, boss killer, making you the best damage dealer class in the game. I believe this may be even the PvP build that I have created. I don't know, we'll see in regards to Paragon points, but we just use double swing to create vulnerability, or we use rend to create vulnerability. I'm sorry, this is hard for me to pronounce. Afterwards we apply death blow. That's it. Smaller monsters already dead. If we have like stronger monsters, we can remove shield of those monsters, apply vulnerability, death blow, and monster is gone. We can even combine a lot of monsters, so they would be very close to the boss, so that you could constantly cast skill on the bosses. And man, this skill does a lot. Original, like in comparison, you have like leap, right? With my weapons it has like 109 damage, which does, right? And it's great. And now check out this one. It's at 405, so it's 3 times more damage. If I apply vulnerability, it has like 30% more damage. I try to apply any sort of overpower or critical strike damages to myself, so I could just even do more damage. At one point I think I saw like 1.5k damage that this skill does, and I honestly didn't really see the need to upgrade it any further. So yeah, everything I had, I honestly didn't had much when I faced Ashava, and I died, as a lot of people were dying back during the event, but I never felt weak, and I never felt like I was stuck in a place or I couldn't move. My mobility and my deaths was fully preventable if I would be focused enough. I saw that I'm not doing enough damage so I could fulfill the event, so I would be strong enough in the event so that I could carry the team. But at this point, if I believe if I could carry on and level up this build, so I could have at least a couple of legendaries have attack power of 600, or similarly like 2k armor or a little bit more, killing Ashava solo wouldn't be any sort of problem, because this build is super agile. Yeah. So from the clip here, you can see simply that a lot of people is dying from Ashava. And it's not only me. Everyone is basically, everyone expected Ashava to be level 20, but it seems like on the very first event when they released Server Slam on Mother's Weekend, Blessed Mother Lilith, right? During this event, they didn't lower the world boss level, so you still can get the achievement if you're gonna kill the boss, but you killing the boss might be just hard, too hard, or yeah, might be impossible at some point. So I'm trying to make this very quick, very detailed. I understand that you are still playing Server Slam, and you want to make sure that you are doing everything right. So if you're confused, if you're not sure if you're doing everything right, it's all about grind. The more time you invest in the game, the more loot you're gonna get. Overall, if you're looking for a fast build that's gonna make you happy, gonna allow you to clear a lot of trash mobs, and you're gonna make a lot of rogues jelly because you're super agile, well, this is the build. This is squishy build. You are squishy, but you are hell of a strong. You're like 2 skills kill everything build, without any sort of specific gear or legendaries necessary. I was speaking very fast. I hope that I did make sense. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, see you in the next one.